All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. KJCR, JimmyChurchRadio.com. I am your host, Jimmy Church, for SyndicatedNews.net. Shoot us an email to Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. In the studio live with Hilton J. Palm, Charlie the Sheckinator Sheckman. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. All right, here it is. I knew this was going to come down. I just had the funny feeling. Breaking news. There is a sex tape being shopped around right now featuring Laurie Fine, Bernie Fine's wife, Laurie Fine, and a Syracuse basketball player. That's right. A media outlet. Okay, let me start with this first. A source has been quoted as saying it was a rite of passage for some of the Syracuse basketball players to be with Bernie's wife. End quote. Another source goes on to say that one media outlet has evidence that Laurie, now 53, had sex with the players on many of Jim Boeheim's squads. Evidence. There is a videotape out there. It has been shopped for years. Nobody wanted it. Why would anybody want it? Doesn't matter. I don't know who's in. Hilton, bring up your mic. Just drop me some names. Drop me some NBA names from Syracuse.
We got Derek Coleman, Sherman Douglas, Carmelo Anthony, Peter Warwick, Dan Shades.
Stop. Did you say Cycli?
Ronnie Cycli. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm turning red right now. It's just hot in here. If you played for Syracuse right now, are you sweating?
You should be.
Are you freaking out? Is that why Carmelo blew the Olympics for us? Was he thinking about Laurie Fine and whoever else? No, okay. Let's not make light of this too much because she's a freak. She's out of control. She's out of her mind. And when you look at pictures of her now, she's gone.
Oh, yeah.
She's twisted. I don't know what's going. I mean, you look into her eyes. Laurie Fine. It's going to be out there. It's going to be soon. I'm not going to watch. I'm not interested. I just want to know who's in the tape. I want to know. I mean, seriously. Okay. All right. A thought had passed my mind the other day. I was talking to an attorney friend of mine who I don't want to really say who he is, but he had practiced criminal law in the state of Texas. And he brought up a point, and this conversation between the two of us went off on a tangent. But he brought up a point, and that point was this. If Mike McCrary, when he walked up on Jerry Sandusky, had seen Jerry Sandusky with Mike McCrary's son in that shower, would this case have been handled the same? Think about that for a second. Does Mike McCrary call his dad? Or does Mike McCrary bash Jerry Sandusky's head in with a folding chair?
I think he bashes his head in with the folding
chair. Do
chair.
you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And he brought up this point. He said, look, conveniently, nobody knows any of these children. They come from, families outside of State College. The second mile kids were from families that didn't matter to the people of State College. And if you stop and look at it like that, no prominent families, nothing like that, the second mile handled a different sort of child and a different sort of family. And if it would have been anybody of name, of note, it would have been a different situation. But the people in State College, because they couldn't make a connection, Mike McCrary had no connection to this kid. Nobody knew any of these kids. Joe Paterno. Think about it. Tim Curley, Gary Schultz, Spanier, Graham Spanier. Nobody knew any of these kids. They came from, somewhere else. They didn't matter. They were kids that were being helped, that couldn't help themselves. So there was a disconnect there. And that disconnect allowed them to disconnect their mind from the situation. That includes the police. That includes everybody. It doesn't matter. They don't come from here. We don't know them. They don't belong to any of our families here. So therefore, we can ignore everything. And we can keep the Penn State legacy protected. We can keep the money machine rolling. We can keep our jobs. We don't have to worry about anything, just as long as we ignore what is real. And that's just a fascinating way of looking at all of this. And like I said, if Mike McCrary would have walked in on Jerry Sandusky with a relative being raped, a child of his, a cousin of his, somebody that he knew, would this have been handled differently? And I can guarantee you it would have been. But because Mike McCrary didn't care about that child, he only cared about his job and Joe Paterno and his future with Penn State. I'll always give it to you straight. This is JimmyChurchRadio.com. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, for SyndicatedNews.net. We'll be back right after this.